I was way off screen.
You had farther to walk.
And I brought my father Cathie coffee cup.
Oh, I love it. I
Isn't
have
that
an urban
awesome?
farm. Mine is no personal.
Awesome.
I used to go to this coffee shop when I lived in New York, but yours is
Oh,
you.
mine is me. My little church gave me this for Christmas one
Oh,
year. It's very
fun.
cute.
Oh, fun. Does that wait,
Yeah,
is that a
so
clerical collar on the coffee cup?
yeah, on the coffee cup. Isn't that fun? There it is. I don't
Oh,
usually
that's
drink
so
coffee
fun.
out of it because I love it so much. I want to protect it, and because
Oh,
it's not big enough. Like, let's just be honest, this is not a big enough coffee cup. But
I
here we are.
I would agree. I've switched to using an AeroPress for my coffee for the past couple of years.
Ah,
And that makes just enough to fill this size mug. So I used to use a French press and have a giant mug
yeah,
and drink like 3 cups at once. And now I have
yep.
to be a mindful coffee drinker until I buy the extra large AeroPress someday. But yeah.
Awesome. We have so much in common. I have the best French press, and it's still my favorite. Although I did, just for the sake of my sanity, I have a really good drip coffee maker because I set it to go off at 4:45 a.m. and that is my
Yeah.
alarm. The smell of wafting coffee. Also, I always say in heaven, the coffee is always hot and somebody else made it, right? And so this is as close as I'm going to get to somebody else making my coffee is that I set it the night before.
There's a lot to that. Yeah, our household is a split coffee household is the difficulty. So my wife drinks
Ah,
decaf and I drink regular. So we have to have some way of
mm,
and I think two coffee makers would just take over too much of the
just be
counter and
crazy.
yeah.
Just be
So
crazy. My husband, I always say the only thing that I don't get about my husband is that he doesn't drink coffee. And I mean, I almost think of it as a moral failing, but I'm trying to look past that. But anyway,
um
hi.
hi. I can't believe we've never done this before.
I know. And we've like
Yeah.
known each other for years
I
of
know.
each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
I first met you on TikTok,
Right.
and then I roped you into Bible in a minute, and now I see you
Yes.
all over Substack. So,
Yeah,
you're like an actual real life pastor in
I am.
North Carolina. I'm
True.
making
Near
up
Charlotte, North
states.
Carolina. Yeah.
Charlotte,
Yeah.
North Carolina. All right. How
Yeah.
how did you get into like the digital stuff? Like I can probably track enough of your life
Yeah.
to see,
Yeah.
Episcopal seminary, probably VTS or
Yeah. All of
something and blah
that.
blah blah. But like how did the
Yeah.
digital stuff and get into the space?
So, all right, I'm going to go way back. When
Cool.
I was in, before I went to seminary, so I moved to North Carolina. I thought I was going to become a psychologist because I felt called to the priesthood, but I was Roman Catholic and they don't ordain girls. And I just thought, well, that's the end of that. So I ended up in North Carolina in Durham. I was working at Duke. And then I met the Episcopal Church. I felt my call. I was, then that my whole life changed. And I was on my way to go to seminary, but I had like a year of work I had to do with the church before I could go to seminary. So I needed a job. I mean, that's the short answer. I needed a secular job that was gonna have like a 9 to 5 kind of situation so that I could do my church stuff. I ended up being the executive assistant to the chair of the Department of Computer Science at Duke University. Someone who was still my dear friend, like a
Wow.
literal computer science genius in the mid 90s, when all of this stuff, like the technology revolution, was
Yeah.
kind of
That's like
just
internet
exploding.
was a new thing, like just or available to the public at least mid 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was the thing. I had to learn how to do two things to be his executive assistant. One, I had to learn how to code HTML. So I
In the
did. So
90s.
in the 90s. So I made my own website in the 1990s by coding HTML. And it's sort of like speaking French. Don't ask me to do it today. I know how it works, but and then his correspondence, because he was a computer scientist, had all these like weird equations and stuff. And so I had to learn this computer language called LaTeX, which
Hmm.
basically reproduces complex equations in a document because you had to like write letters to people and then refer to these really long things. So I had to learn how to do that. So I did. And
Wow.
it was super fun. I mean, I just loved it. I was a linguistics major in college. And so I could see like the whole
Hmm.
language. I mean, it's computer languages, right? And then, I went to New York City to go to seminary and I met Google there, for the first time. I still remember the first time I Googled something and I was like, what the heck is this? Right? It was brand new. And I could just see from the beginning how it had all these implications for the church, right? All it was like the printing press, right? It was like now we can share the gospel in new ways. And I was just like
Yeah.
sold. And I just saw it as such a big adventure. And I could just see how the technology world was like exploding in front of us. And I wanted to be on it. Another little funny story about me is that I was a linguistics major in college, and which is very obscure, but I just love language. And to me, it sent me more and more deeply towards God because I always say there's a reason why we call Jesus the Word, right?
Mm,
Like language, I think is part of how we're made in the image of God, right? It has a spiritual basis. And the more I studied language, the more I realized that was true. It's great
yeah.
mystery. But when we graduated from college, all my fellow linguistics majors went off to work at this little startup called Microsoft. And they all like
Little.
cashed out their stock at their 30s as millionaires. I went on to become an Episcopal priest. I don't regret it. I don't regret the millions of dollars I didn't make. Not a bit, not even a little.
But it does mean that Bill Gates should probably subscribe to you on Substack as a paid subscriber, right?
He absolutely. I also think Bill Gates these days needs a little pastoral care, so he can call me anytime. He'll
Ooh, he
charge him
does.
the special billionaire rate for my pastoral care.
The sliding scale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right.
So,
Well, tell me,
okay,
tell me a little. Okay, I want to know a little bit of your story too, though.
we'll get there. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
so you learned the internet when the internet was first learnable by most humans, which is amazing.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
before seminary. Let me just track all the pieces. So
yeah. On the
executive
way to
assistant
seminary.
on the way.
Yeah,
So you went into
yeah,
seminary with this kind of like, hey everyone, there's this thing called
yeah,
the internet, and we should probably pay attention to it, kind of
yeah,
already to,
yeah,
which is the opposite of what probably so many of your peers were thinking about. They
yeah,
were in
yeah,
seminary with the traditional brick and mortar church, this,
yeah,
that. What is that
yeah.
fad called the internet? It's going to be bad news. I mean, which is there was the same
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
naysayers about the
yeah.
printing press 500 years earlier. Um,
Exactly, exactly.
how fill me in on the 20 years then, like between seminary and TikTok. Like what was the digital
Woo!
stuff happening in there? Like
Yeah,
was there stuff you were
yeah,
playing with? Because
yeah,
I know, free range priests from TikTok a few years back and now Substack, which I don't want
yeah,
to hear
yeah,
more
yeah,
about
yeah.
that, but like
I got really into TikTok, and then Substack was just better for me. I don't know. I ended up anyway. So the 20 years. Oh gosh, how do I do that? Um, I guess, and this is one of the things that I kind of preach right now in my own ministry. I always knew that technology was native to my ministry, right? So
mm,
even when it meant like, and I was just looking back on some stuff. Like, so I went on to be just a regular old priest. I served in New York City.
regular.
And then I served back in North Carolina. Then I went to
Where
Kansas
in
for
New
a
York
little
City?
while.
Wait, let's do New York City stories for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
Where were
yeah.
you?
Where you don't live, where I thought you lived. I was at Church of the Holy Trinity in New York City, which is on East 88th Street between
Yep.
First and Second Avenues, right near Gracie
Yeah.
Mansion, actually. It's a great
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood. It's the old
Mm-hmm.
Yorkville neighborhood, the old German immigrant neighborhood. And yeah, and I went to seminary at General Seminary, which is in Chelsea.
General.
So
Yep.
yeah. So I lived in New York for 6 years. I like to say I lived in New York for 6 years and never paid rent.
Ooh, ooh. If only.
Yeah.
I lived there for 10
Yeah.
years and paid a whole lot of rent.
Yes, I bet. I bet. So, but I mean, things just like, building email lists and building websites and sending the newsletter out via email, which it doesn't seem like anything today. But
But
back
that was like
right
the
in the
new
cusp of
thing
the,
at the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. I always like to say that I think of my ministry because it's true. It's like, I'm literally like, I was ordained on the cusp of the 21st century. Literally, I was
Yeah.
ordained a priest in January of 2000, the literal cusp of the
Wow.
21st century.
Wow.
And so I am deeply formed, if you will, in the old school ways and understand them and love them, right? And I was young enough and just like lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time to catch how things were changing and how technology not just is changing with like the tools available to us, but the way we actually think about
Yeah.
communication and gathering. I mean, it is the same as the printing press. It changes our whole concept. And honestly, I think that's the trouble the church is in today, is that we are like deeply into that place where the 20th century is gone, really, really gone. And so
Yep.
and now that we're almost, 30 years into the 21st century, and it's the mindset around how technology allows us to connect ourselves to
Mm.
God, to each other, to communicate, to transcend time, all that kind of stuff. It's deeply theological, but it's also deeply practical to organize and administrate. Like, I'm a big proponent of church management software because I just think we're killing ourselves with, the landlines and the like, who's going to print the bulletin? Like, I mean, it sounds mundane, but I am convinced that so much
Yep.
of the exhaustion of church these days is that we insist on doing
Hmm.
things this old way. And also
Yep.
connect, like we have to do everything in house. We have to make our own Bible study. We have to make our own liturgical resources, all that kind of stuff. When if you open your computer, the world of liturgical resources and Bible studies is available to you,
Yeah.
and ways in which you can connect via community. And so that, I mean, I don't know if that's answering your question, but that was my 20
No,
years, right?
no, totally. I mean, there weren't TikToks and Facebooks in 2000.
Right, right,
That wasn't a
right.
thing. The internet, it was we were done with the free AOL CD-ROMs, I think, by 2000. We'd moved beyond that. But
Yeah.
it kind of shows the slow evolution because yeah, what,
Yeah. Yeah.
2005, 2006 is when Facebook broke onto the scene. Like
Yeah.
YouTube is just
2007. Yeah.
21 years old. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and that was one of, like, Facebook too. Like, I mean, I still say Mark Zuckerberg owes me a ton of money, but because when Facebook was new, when it first went to the public, you had to
yeah,
have a college
yep.
email in order,
Yep,
and I
that
still
was me.
had,
I was one of
yeah,
those.
me too. I still have my Georgetown email, so I put it in there, right? So I started using Facebook when all the kids were using it. I mean, I was in my 30s then, but I was far from a kid. So, but that was the other thing, like the social. I mean, I realized that, Facebook, all the things, the social media, we're having a lot of backlash about social media, but that idea, I mean, I will say
Yeah.
even today, right? I am still really close with my high school friends, with my college friends, with my seminary friends, with my far-flung family, like and people like you, and I have tons of people like you in my life that I think of as friends,
Hmm.
even though we have never been in the same place at the same time. I don't think so. You and I were probably in New York at the same time, but we didn't know each other then, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was so, I mean, being a priest, I am a social creature, right? I'm a community, like community is it, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the essence of what we're doing here. And so that idea that you could stay connected and connect to new people. um I mean, again, now it's hard to understand how mind-blowing that was. That when I went to
Yeah.
college, I don't know about you, we had to write each other letters, right? Like, you had to get a letter in the mail, right, from your mom or from your friends, and then that petered off and you lost touch with your friends and you never saw them
Yeah.
again, right? Maybe at reunions many years in the future.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I'm going on, but I mean, it was just so intoxicating, right? Like, the possibility of it all is so
Well, I mean,
amazing to me.
I like even just your history through it all because it reminds me that being we all need to be aware of context regardless of vocation, but a priest, a pastor, that is such a contextual calling. It's to just be
Right,
grounded in the space we are. And I feel like so many pastors and churches forget that the context changes and evolves. And so
right,
like there's so many churches that see these things as, oh, we need to add that to our ministry. It's a tool to our ministry. And yeah,
right,
but it's no,
right,
this is the new context. This is the new
right.
parish. Like
This is the
it is
center,
now.
right? This is
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not like we add it to ministry. That's like saying I'm gonna, I don't know, what's
Right,
a thing we just take for granted? Like I'm gonna learn how to
right,
have a conversation with a human being. Like that's just a part of being
right,
a human being. This is a part
right,
of conversing, and we need to learn how to do it well because we can do it not well, just
right,
like we can do all things. Yeah,
right, right,
I like
right.
that. I like that it's just like it was just a
100%.
ground of being for you that you just walked on, and it's like, how do we do ministry in the world? This is a part
Right,
of the world. So it's
right.
yeah,
And it is the world, whether you like it or not. And there's so much
yeah,
pushback against it. And I also think, it's a vicious cycle, and I don't know where it starts or stops, but the whole idea that, like, church congregations are aging, and
yeah,
then older
yeah,
people tend to be more suspicious of technology, and then
That's probably it.
Lack of technology keeps younger people out of churches, and I think that that is absolutely 100% true. And I don't mean just that, like, I'm not talking about screens, I'm not even talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
social media
yeah.
presence. I'm just talking about the general way. Like, again, you do anything. I just bought a car. I bought a car online, right? You can do that now. Like, I love that. Like, I was thinking, like, it's bad news if you're like drinking and scrolling that you can just buy a car online, but that's not
Whoops.
that I would ever do that, right? But I bought a car online, right? I got to
Yeah.
pick it out. They sent it to me. It turns out there was actually something wrong with it. So then, like, I brought it to the dealer, and then the dealer talked to the warranty people, and the warranty people talked to the and they're fixing it. They're sending it back to me. Then they're sending the registration to the DMV, and then the DMV is just going to send me a license plate. And oh, phew, I'm so happy about that. So that's just like how life works. And I think, like, you're right. It's like
Yeah.
you don't realize, even if you don't use technology, meaning you're not on social media or something, technology undergirds pretty much
Yes.
everything. Even if you walk to the grocery store, there was so much technology involved in getting your bananas into the store, right? And so you are participating in this sort of
Yep.
like technology base, and somehow the church has resisted it. And I think,
Yeah.
like, I think tradition is so much a part of that. And yet I myself am an extremely traditional person. And I take the ancient traditions very seriously. I take the Anglican traditions very seriously. I take, and I also think that, like, technology today means that we have more in common with the first century church than with the 20th century church. And that's kind of one of the
Interesting.
foundations of my ministry too, is that we are, my big thing is agile, networked, technology based, focused on Christian practice and small worshiping communities. That's what the
Yeah.
first century church was. That's what the 21st century church is. And we're stuck in the middle with these kind of bloated, institutional, still printing out the bulletin congregations of people
Yeah.
who don't know what else to do, who are trying so hard to be faithful, but they're not getting that they're part of a system that is just crumbling.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's like there's so many churches. I think you posted it, I think, the other day ago. By 2031, your church is probably going to be closed or something of that nature.
Yeah,
I feel like it
yeah,
was connected to Ryan Burge's work and all those, insights
yeah.
but it's that for a lot of those, average sized churches, I say average because that number can be a range, it seems like they're all aspiring to become a big church because big churches are sustainable and they
Right,
have all the money.
right,
And
right,
small church means dying church, but maybe we don't know how
right,
to be a small church. And maybe that's the thing that we need to just settle into
right.
of what does it mean to be a small church and thrive in that size? The goal doesn't have to
Exactly.
be we packed the building. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, since when was attendance the marker of faith formation anyway? Not that it's not a
right.
part of it. Showing up is maybe a component, but it's not the indicator of, I think, we're preaching to the
Yeah,
choir. Churches like to track
right,
attendance because attendance tracks giving, and giving tracks can
right,
we pay
right,
ourselves and keep the
right.
lights on and print more bulletins. And yeah, then we're
Right.
just feeding a
And
system
also
that maybe
vitality.
doesn't need
I
to be
am going to
fed.
say, yeah, I am going to say vitality too. Like, it does matter, I think. But yeah, you said a whole bunch of things that I like agree with, violently, right? But the whole idea that, like, first of all, the big churches are having trouble too, right? Like, don't let that fool you. Like, the big
Yeah,
churches are talking to me. They are in trouble
I
too
work for one of them. I'm
because
there. Yeah,
it's the system, right? You're still
yeah,
struggling with too much overhead, too much organizational stuff, too much staff, not enough money, not enough parishioners. And it's just more signs that it's
yeah,
failing. And so I think that small networked worshiping communities is kind of where it's at. And that's the other thing
yeah,
I talk about a lot is living in a post-denominational age, right? So each denomination, each congregation, and the old system, again, everything, it makes everything itself, right? It's its own factory, and it makes its own widgets, and then
yep.
you just only look at your own factory's
Brand
widgets in order
loyalty.
to,
Just
yeah.
do your, yeah,
But that's not how the world works today.
yeah,
I always say people in the pews could care less, could not care less what brand your church is. They care about the preaching, they care about the other people there. And frankly, in today's world, they care about the politics. That's just true, even though I don't like that. And the liturgy. And so if it all feels good to them, if it feels like home, then they're staying. They
yeah,
don't care if it's Lutheran or Methodist or, Episcopalian or what Presbyterian or whatever. And so I just think we're all on the same team. Right. And this goes
yeah.
back to first century church too. Yeah, we have differences, but just like siblings or
Mm,
cousins or whatever, we have 99% in common. right? We are
Yeah.
followers of Jesus, right? And yes, like some people like to do it this way and some people like to do it that way. And I don't like the screens of the rock bands either, but I do like the message that a lot of those churches have. And I love the way they form community in small groups and technology. So yeah. And also we can share the good things. Like I have noticed
Yeah.
that a lot of evangelicals are moving towards the liturgical side of the fence, right? Because they recognize the depth of Christian tradition and they want to be part of ancient Christian practices and they
Yeah.
want to understand what liturgy means. And so that's awesome. As far as I'm concerned, those of us who are in liturgical traditions ought to be sharing that as widely as we
Yeah.
possibly can and learning from them. Their evangelical, threads and practices are wonderful. And Episcopalians, not so much with the evangelical stuff. So we can learn from them. And that's also part of the whole small worshiping communities networked together to me.
Yeah.
Then we share the best of the good stuff.
Do you know Aaron Nyquist? He's a name that came to mind in what you just said.
So I don't
He
think so, but I should then.
yeah, of all the people, look him up after this. He went to General
Okay.
Theological
Oh,
Seminary recently,
oh,
so I'm just thinking
oh,
he's in that
yeah.
ecosystem. Prior to that, he had him and I worked together at a church in Grand Rapids ages ago, and before and after our time at that church, he was one of the worship pastors at Willow Creek in Chicago. So
Oh,
he
yeah,
comes
yeah,
from mega
yeah,
church,
yeah.
that brand, and then he has his MDiv from General. So, and he's working
Wow.
now at leading music at an Episcopal church in New York City. But
Wow.
we've talked about a ton of things, and one thing he said is similar to what you just said of the evangelicals have a lot of energy, but they sometimes need the liturgy and the structure and the rhythms to put it in. And the
Right.
mainline space is we have the liturgy and the structure, but we need the energy and we need a little kick in the ass
Right. Right.
sometimes. So I
Yeah.
just feel like
Yeah.
there's so much of what you're saying that
Yeah, now
sounds
I
like
want to
what
meet
he
him.
said.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Where
Oh,
are you? You have to tell me. Where are you? I thought you were all this time. I thought you lived in New York City. You work for Riverside Church, though.
I do. Yep, I've been at Riverside for 10 years now. Maybe it's 9 or 10. It all blends together now. I used to live in New York City, but now I live in Michigan. So Frankenmuth,
Huh.
Michigan, tiny little town 90 minutes north of Detroit. Um,
Ah.
it has
Hey,
this like
I'm
world famous
I'm
Christmas
gonna
store called Bronner's.
I'm gonna be in Michigan in May. You want to have
Really?
coffee? Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
I
gonna
do.
be
All right.
in South Haven, Michigan.
That's about 4 hours away, but we can make something
Oh,
work.
oh, oh, no. I see. It's like, Michigan. That's not a big place or anything. I never, yeah, my brother lives in Grand Rapids and my husband's doing a triathlon in South Haven somewhere. It's right on the lake.
Yeah, oh
So,
yeah.
and so anyway, we
Well,
don't
South
have to
Haven's
make it
great.
happen if it's going to be 4 hours away. But
We'll
anyway,
see.
Michigan,
Yeah.
is that where you're from? I mean, tell me why you're in Michigan. Not that there's anything wrong with Michigan, but
Well, there could be, but yeah, no, I mean, we got a great governor right now. There's lots going on. I lived here in high school. My parents live in Lansing still. My dad is a retired Missouri Synod Lutheran pastor. So I grew up
ah,
in that brand of things. Um,
hmm
I was in New York from I forget when, a good chunk of my life. Initially ended up working at Middle Collegiate Church for about 7 years as the
I
Minister of
know that
Education,
church.
and then shifted over to Riverside, where I started in the communications area. I was the Minister of Digital Strategy and Online Engagement was the made up title we had.
Wow,
And this was in
wow,
2016, 2017, I think. 2017, I started at Riverside.
gotcha.
So I was living there then, always playing kind of digital spaces. The question was always like, I mean, I've always been scratching the itch of what would it look like for the church to take online spaces seriously as more than just a bulletin board, but a place for,
Right.
true community as well as, and then my other itch is always like, what happens if we create content online first content rather than online second? Meaning,
I
the,
love
the
that. I
sermon that's
love
preached in
that.
the building, we record it and we put it online. Cool, that's great, but that's different
Right.
than if you preached a sermon specifically for the context of the online
A
person. So
100%. Yes.
so that's been
Yeah.
what I've been playing with for a long time and was leaning into that at Riverside in lots of ways. In 2019, my role at Riverside shifted. Summer of 2019, my wife finished her MFA in creative nonfiction. She never liked living in New York City. We got married in, she moved to New York City when we were dating, got married there, and she loved me, but tolerated the city. And
Right.
then
My
when she was
husband's
done with her
same.
MFA, yeah. So I love it. I love the energy.
I know.
I'm,
I love
yeah.
New York, just like You go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we decided, okay, let's try something new. So we bought an Airstream and we started traveling full time in an Airstream in 2019. And so my role at Riverside shifted to be the digital minister, and I was going to travel and work remote. And this was an experiment. We've never had a remote employee summer of 2019. And a lot of my
2019.
colleagues and congregants like, what the hell is a digital minister? And then
Yeah.
summer of 2020, thank God we have a digital minister. So we
Yes.
were
And
traveling
thank
full
God you have
time.
an Airstream.
Yeah, well, the Airstream was good. It also became a little less ideal to be traveling in an Airstream during a pandemic, so we wanted a little more, you know, we didn't want to be looking for, where we were going to park every month or so.
Yeah.
And we were pregnant at the time. So pregnant and
Oh my
pandemic meant
gosh.
let's have a little more stability.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
is from this town. She grew up here. Her family's here. My parents are 90 minutes away. So we moved here. Now we live here, have a house, two kids, 5.5 and 4 years old. So we're in Michigan.
Wow.
And so I've been fully remote ever since. And I go back to New York every 2 to 3 to 4 months. But my focus is primarily on our online congregants and their experience at Riverside and helping create spaces for them to connect. And then, I mean, Riverside's a weird
Love
anomaly. We're on
that.
Sunday mornings at Riverside. We've been live streaming worship, for
Okay.
15 years or so now, long before the pandemic. And we've always had people worshiping online. The pandemic flipped it a lot. So now most of our Sunday morning congregants aren't in the building. I track the attendance every week, and we are
I
roughly
love
60%
that.
online on a Sunday morning during the live worship hour. So who are we designing the service for? How's it being
Uh,
experienced? So me being
yeah.
remote puts me in the seat of an online congregant. So I get to have the experience they have and be a pastor in that space with them.
I'm gonna
So
have to
yeah,
come. Do I just go to your website? I'm gonna come. I actually don't have church this Sunday because I'm only 2 Sundays a month. So I'm coming. But how do I find
you should
it?
do it. TRCNYC.org is the church website, or just look up Riverside's YouTube channel, the Riverside Church.
Yeah.
That it's live
That's
streamed on YouTube.
awesome.
I would recommend watching it directly on YouTube so you can see the live chat because there's always a good engagement happening in the live chat. This would be a good Sunday to come. It's a communion Sunday.
Yeah.
We do communion on Zoom for people who aren't in the space.
Wow.
I won't be
Wow.
there this Sunday though. I'm going on
Oh,
vacation for the
bummer.
week with my family, but
Well,
I have a seminary intern who's moderating things and some other clergy who are holding things. So it all still happens without me, but it's still a good
yeah.
Sunday. But yeah. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
that's what I
coming.
do, and that's
That's
why I'm not in New York.
amazing. Wow. And so I'm so amazed at like that they would do that. Like that the church is willing, was willing, is willing to do that, especially when they were willing to do that. Because I'm
Yeah.
finding that even like it's still a slog out there, right? Like I have all these ideas and I talk to all these people, but very few people actually like want you to actually do the stuff, right? So I talk to
Yeah.
people about church management software. I talk to people about getting on Substack. I talk to people about, all the online stuff. And people are like, that's great. We should definitely do that. And then it's just like, no.
Because who's
They
gonna
don't,
do it?
right. Nobody's going to do it. And it's too hard. And it is hard. It's just like if you're changing a whole system, if you're changing the whole way you think about something, then yeah, that's going to be really hard. But I
Yeah.
do wonder, I'm going to ask you this question because um, what I'm thinking about now, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this ministry that I have, but is basically starting something instead of saying to the whole congregation, let's get you all on church management software and all doing this on Substack and stuff, like starting basically a community of practice within a congregation, right?
Yeah.
Or within
Yeah.
like multiple congregations, right? You don't have to be in the same congregation to do it. That's part of the whole network thing. So, I mean, what do you think about that in the sense of like, is that how it
Yes.
happened at Riverside or like in your experience? Instead of trying to make the whole, let's say like, okay, guys, we're going to get rid of the bulletin, we're going to get rid of everything you're doing and do something different. And it's going to be like chaos to just say like, let's start with a few people and do this thing over here.
I mean, I think that's just a smart direction for life in general, rather than trying to turn the whole Titanic. Let's just get a bunch of people to
Yeah.
jump in a life raft and see where it's going, and then others will be like, "Ooh, that
Yeah.
looks fun. Let's do it too." But I mean, yeah, that's I wouldn't say that's how my work at Riverside began. Um, but it's definitely a focus I have now and some things I'm trying, like just trying to really lean into who are these people. Well, my focus had always been we have all of Riverside, and we knew people were watching worshiping online, but we didn't know who they were. They were just, numbers on an analytics screen. Maybe we knew of members who'd moved away, so we could make some assumptions, but no one knew the names and the stories of the people online. So my first
Right.
big thing was like, I want to know who these people are. I want to spend my
Yeah.
energy making stuff because I just like to make online stuff. And I think that my whole philosophy is that's kind of like an online campfire. It's a spark that lets us gather around something and have an excuse to have connections and shared experience. But I also want
Right.
to intentionally get to know these people. I want to
Yeah.
know the names and the stories of the people who aren't in the building, can't come to the building. And then how do I mean, that's just good, what, design thinking, ethnographic research. Then I can help cultivate things for this specific population because I'm not making it for everyone. I'm making it for
Right.
Bill and Frank and Davana and Avis. These are real people who
Right.
I see every week on all sorts of spaces. Um,
Yeah.
so the way I would think about how I do that and some of the ramifications, I think that you're hinting at already. I have a Substack because everyone should have a Substack for
That's right.
Riverside's online stuff. Um,
Yeah.
it's basically it's a weekly email I send out to specifically to our online congregation. So it's people who have
Mm,
connected somehow in an online space, whether they've filled out the online check-in form or they've participated in one of our midweek online groups. So some of them are local to New York and they might be in the building regularly, but that's okay. I'm not going to exclude you, but it clearly is
right.
designed for like this is not the church email that's like here's everything happening at the church. This is a message from me. This is getting to know other online congregants, and this is things that online congregants can connect with in the life of Riverside and how we can participate together. And my favorite thing is when I am back in New York, I have congregants saying, I had the chair of the church council say to me, I heard about this email you send every week. How do I start getting it? And so I
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah,
love
yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm making it for this group and others then want to join rather than trying to say this needs to be for everybody. So I think
That's
I like that
great. I
direction of
love
thought.
that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you like a techie question, a technical question. So how do you do that? So how do you, if you do it on YouTube, how are you actually signing people up and how are you keeping track of who's there?
Yes, good question. I used to do it better. I don't have the capacity to do it like I wanted to. Part of this comes down to needing a better church manager, a CRM to help track
Yeah.
things and
Planning
just
center.
you know,
I'm going to get you on planning center.
I'm open to being converted. That's more of a larger
Yeah.
system conversion, but a
Yeah.
couple of ways. So our Sundays at Riverside have a Bible study on Zoom at 9:30, and then kind of the prelude music begins at 10:30, worship begins at 11, and then we do virtual coffee hour on Zoom at 12:30. Um, so I'm able to. Do we not make people register for those? I have a lot of points where I know people have signed up for stuff, and so I have all their emails that I can drop into that. When I made that email list, I'm going to answer your question in three ways. I made
Okay.
my big email list by looking at who are members of Riverside who live outside of the New York area. So I just did kind of a search of our database and like if you don't live within the New York, Connecticut area, I'm putting you on my list because you are my person. I'm your pastor.
Yeah.
Um, and then I looked at what list that I have of who's participated and signed up in things. There was a season, this was when I somehow had the energy to do this, when I had a spreadsheet. This is why I need Planning Center or something. And I
Yeah, you
would
do.
keep attendance every Sunday manually. I would track who was at our Bible study on Zoom, who um, participated in the live chat. So I would keep track and then correlate their name to this chart here. Or if they filled out, we have an online check-in form, kind of like, an online connect card in a
Yeah.
pew. So people fill that out and that's easy because it gives me their email right from there. Who
Right.
shows up
So
to
you just
key
put
in
the
on
link, you
Zoom?
put the link of that in the comments or something or in the
Uh, we,
title?
we, I think they have a QR code that shows up on screen, or the
Oh,
URL shows
gotcha.
up on screen, or it's in the description. I don't know where it shows up anymore. I don't know if it shows up where I thought it should show up, but people fill it out every week, so it's somewhere
That's
and it
good. So it's
works.
somewhere easy to find. Yeah.
People are doing it, and a lot of that
Yeah.
for us. So this again comes back to why even things like that. What's the incentive for someone to fill out an online check-in form?
Right.
We always ask people on a Sunday to let us know where they're joining us from. So we do two things every Sunday at Riverside. In part of like the opening welcome, we invite everyone online. Like the person in the room doing the welcome looks at a camera and ignores the room. And I've trained my colleagues really well on this, and I love it. And they give direct eye contact, and they're saying, "And those of you joining online, we're so glad you're with us. There's blah blah blah." Um, Let us know where you're joining us from. And as always, we have a question for you. And so there's always the preacher has to come up with a question related to the themes of the day. And so we put that in the chat, and people let us know where they're joining from, and then they answer the question. All of that
Hmm.
information is gathered usually by me or by someone else on my team. And then we kind of make a list of all the states and countries people are joining from based on the check-in forms in that, as well as their answers to the question. And that gets
Hmm.
passed back to the room to another clergy who's doing the passing of the peace. So when we do the passing of the peace, we can say, today we're not only passing the peace here in the nave, but as far as this country, that country, we
Yeah.
list all the locations. And so there's an incentive to fill out the check-in form because then your state gets mentioned and you kind of get mentioned that you're present. So I think that
Yeah.
works. Um,
Yeah.
to me, that's an incentive because it's letting an online congregant know we see you, even if we can't physically see you, and it reminds the people in the room of all the people who aren't in the room but who are still with us. So it has a lot of
Right.
purposes, and then it's liturgically placed in the passing of the peace, and then their answers to those questions, just to answer a bunch of questions you didn't ask. When
I love
everyone's
this.
being all out extroverts in the passing of the peace, there's always the question of how do you get people to sit down and shut up so you can keep church happening. So we
Uh-huh.
say, as you're returning to your seats, let's hear a few answers from today's question. And so then the person, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's I love it because suddenly we're letting the voiceless online congregant who only is participating in a live
Right. Is
chat
only watching. Yeah.
say something to the whole church. Like their words get said out loud. So there's a lot of
Right.
intentional, how do we center the person who's pushed to the edge via the technology, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's
Right.
largely how then we have mechanisms to
Right.
collect some information and who's from where, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So,
So
and then
here's
people,
I'm gonna
the email list is on the website. People can sign up. There's a digital ministry page if they
yeah.
want to get connected to lists.
Yeah.
There's the comms team manages a lot of that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. So here's where I'm going to convert you to Planning Center. So first of
please,
all, yes, Planning Center is huge. I mean, just like Substack, and this is what I'm learning, and this is hopefully what I'm going to start teaching, is I mean, it's ginormous. I mean, it's like everything and anything you could do. And so you can get overwhelmed. So for you, here's what I would say. First of all, it's free. One of the beautiful things about Planning Center is that the database part of it is always free for everybody. Even if you have a million
interesting.
members, that's one of the things I love very much about it. It has different modules, and as you add modules, some of them you have to pay for, but the basic database module, including lists and forms and everything else, free for everyone. And this is one of the reasons I love
Hmm,
it. It was created as a ministry. So that's the other reason I love it. So what you could do, I'm just saying, you could start a planning
please.
center just for this, right? Like you don't have to, don't worry about anything else. This is also part of the whole, like you don't have to change everything or da, 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 da. Create a form. They have forms right in there. And so to ask the questions. And then they had this great thing where you can attach answers to people's profiles. So two
Hmm,
things could happen. Three things could happen, right? And given the system that you already use. So people, you give them the link or you can make a QR code of the actual form, the connect card it's called, right? And so they fill it out. First of all, you could have one of your people in the planning center where they're watching. You can just refresh and it's coming up
see
in
it all come in. Yeah.
real time, so they can immediately see the names of the people that they have and where they're from. Second of all, if you set it up with these particular kinds of from what's the word I'm thinking of? Never mind, I'll think about it in a second. These little pieces of information, then it gets stuck to their profile. So then you
Yeah,
look
yeah,
them
yeah.
up at any
Over
time.
time, I can see all the
It's
stuff they've done.
yeah,
Yeah.
after church, you can, and also you can run it in any way you want. You can say anybody who've answered this question, who's filled out a connect card, who's from Minnesota. Boom, you got it right there. I mean, immediately.
Yeah.
And furthermore, you can auto send them an email. You can set it up. You can refresh every time you refresh the list. It can send an automated email to somebody immediately that you've already
Hmm.
put in there, even with like a video or something else. We're so happy you're here today. You could set it up with a new email every Sunday. And it captures all of that and keeps it. So and you can download it as a CSV, but you can slice and dice any bit of the information in any way you want to, including what people have to say about themselves, where they're from, that kind of thing. And you can see it builds a profile. This is the reason I love it the most,
Yeah.
is it builds actual real-time profiles that people essentially build themselves. So you're not out collecting data on them. They are sharing with you. And so I have these things called like church info forms. So like asking people, are you baptized? Where did you grow up? Tell me something about your life with God. Tell me, like, even in our own pews,
Yeah.
like with people who've been there for years and years and years and years. I don't necessarily know that so and so was baptized in a river, when they were 15. I don't necessarily know that story. And we don't necessarily bring those stories out, but you can ask
Yeah.
those stories and have people fill them out. So I'm just saying you could probably set that up in an afternoon. And then it cuts down on the work that you have to do. But
Yeah.
much more importantly, I think it really enhances the way that you can be connected with your online people.
How?
There.
Yes.
Sermon done.
Oh no, just getting started. I have more questions. I'm
Okay.
going to spend every minute after we get off this call playing with it. Well, I will try. I have a giant list of things I need to get done this week. Because
Yeah.
I'm going to be gone all
Yeah.
next week. So I
Yeah.
this will be my
Hey, I have a
treat.
question.
After I
I have
after I edit a few
a
videos, I'll play with planning. So here's my
Okay.
question. Um,
Okay. Then I have a question
I
for you. Don't let me forget. Go ahead.
I think you're gonna be my new favorite person because of everything you've just evangelized me with Planning Center.
I am
I've
definitely going to be
used
your new favorite person. I insist
can
upon it.
yes. Will this could I use this platform? Like I'm assuming the answer is yes, but if I have all my
Yes.
people in there that are online, and then can I just like can I track participation at stuff like who attended Bible study, who attended this, so I can kind of have a record of who's our most
Yeah.
active
So
participants and
let
showing
me
up
tell
to
you,
stuff.
I'm going to really be your favorite person now. Here's something else. So they have this thing called groups in Planning Center. So they are groups. So everybody goes to Bible study, right? You can sign up for a group, and groups have their own events and their own resources, that you can give just to people who are doing the Bible study or whatever. And they have, and so you can set up meetings and stuff. You can put them on your big calendar or not put them on your big calendar, right? And they send reminders. So say you have a Bible study, you in the group, and also they have a chat
Fascinating.
function. So I set this up for my whole church because my church is so small. So we have a church chat that I basically made an app where they chat all the time, right? So you have a chat function within the group and an email function. So you set up the email, you set up the meeting, you set up the Bible study, and you create an event for it. And then you invite the whole group, right? And it sends it to them.
Yep.
They can RSVP, they can automatically put it on their calendar, and they get automatic reminders. And you can set it to take attendance. You can take attendance. You can set that to somebody else's job as to take attendance. And so they get a reminder via email
Mm,
during the meeting that says time to take attendance, who's there, and then you just click and it gives you the list of all the people who could everybody in the group, anyone who could, not necessarily everyone RSVP'd, because sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, but all the people in the group. And all you have to do is say Jim's here, Kat's here, da, 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 da. And then when you're happy with it, you submit it, and it keeps
and I can
track of
probably
your
add people
attendance.
that join if they weren't in the group. I can be like, oh,
Yeah.
and Ian
Well,
joined.
they
He wasn't
have
on the
to.
list. Yeah,
They have to be in the group. That's the only thing. They have to be in the group to be part of this. So, but you can get them in the group anytime you want to. But this would be
cool.
something like a Zoom meeting where you'd have had to have some kind of contact with them before it wouldn't just be like a live stream or something.
Yeah,
So they would absolutely be in the group beforehand. And then, yeah, you just click them up. And then, of course, it saves that. So now you have a history of the group that auto saves. So it shows you everything you've done, everybody who's been there, all your trends. It also has dashboards and all the things. Now, groups does cost money, but everything is like free up to like the first 15. And it does it by who's using it.
okay,
So, in other words, you could put your whole congregation in groups and it wouldn't cost you anything until people started using it. And then there's like a fee
gotcha.
for, it's like after 15, there's this many. And then after 50, there's this, it costs you this much, which I think is very fair and good and kind and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. So my small church uses this whole thing. Um, I think they pay $35 a month to do
yeah.
everything. So here's my question for you before I forget. So I am just about like I'm on the cusp. In fact, now I'm doing it very soon. I want to create a couple of little courses, like called something like optimize planning center for your ministry or something like that. Can I use you as an example? I could use both of these
Oh,
things that you just said and say,
yes,
because
100%.
one of the things that's blocking me right now is where to start. And also like the whole intro to Planning Center, like, and I realized Planning Center has the greatest, they have so much information and you can click anything and it pops up a video that tells you how to use this. So nobody needs me to tell them how to turn on Planning Center. Planning Center will help you do that. But I know some tricks, right? I know how to do it in a
Yep.
practical sense for your ministry. So if you are okay with that, I might use those two examples that you just gave me and just do like a quick little course that I'm going to charge other people money for, but I won't charge you money for it because you're my example. And so because that's a concrete, those are some real life examples
Yeah.
that I could be helpful to show you exactly what you would do and how you would do it. So,
Yes, please. And I'm
okay.
probably going to need that course because I'm going to be fumbling my way through it. Even as digitally savvy as I might be, there's still like
Isn't
wait a minute, how do I do this? Because I mean, that's
that the fun though? Isn't that the fun? Like
yeah,
to me, that's
I
fun
think
too.
so.
Like
Yeah,
people
but
like
not
my
everyone does.
husband.
Some people find that
Yeah.
frustrating, and that then becomes the block to even try. There was a
My
while when I was in New York, we called it Digital Cathedral, which was a riff off of Keith Anderson wrote a book called Digital Cathedral. I don't know if you remember that way back in the day. He's down in
maybe. Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, this was way, way pre-pandemic. Great title, and his whole idea is, like looking at how we're shifting from, architectural spaces to digital spaces and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We had a class at Riverside called the Digital Cathedral, fun name. And the idea was we
Yeah.
we started by teaching congregants something about how Riverside is using online spaces so you can learn it. And then the last half of the class was we're here to answer any of your tech questions. Like we'll help you,
Yeah.
log into Facebook and reprogram your VCR. And my working theory is always, and this is true for congregants and clergy, helping someone have a small win with the technological problem in front of them empowers them to then try a new thing. But if they feel like they can't even tackle this little thing, then they're just like done with technology in general. And they just stick with what they're used
Yeah.
to, which is,
Right.
really
It's too
emblematic of
scary.
the church as a
Yeah.
whole. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I'm laughing to myself about like my husband. He is so wonderful in so many ways, but he is not a techie person. And it's like he tries something once. He's like, this is broken. This doesn't work. I'm like,
yeah,
honey, let's sit down. But I think that is like to me, and that's one of the things I teach all the time, and I'm sure you do too. It
yeah,
will go wrong. I mean, that is actually the fun of it. Like that's experimentation, right? It goes
yep,
wrong more than 50% of the time. I'm going to say more than 80% of the time. That's how you learn how to do it, right?
yeah.
It's just like learning to play the piano or something. You're not going to start playing a concerto, right? You're going to start by playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star very badly, right? A
Yep.
thousand times. And this is the same thing with anything. But it also reminded me of a great story. I was at a church that I was helping them use Church Center, and Church Center is the public facing side of Planning Center. So Planning Center
Okay.
is the
Back end.
admin, is the
Yep.
yeah, the back end. And Church Center is like basically the web page app that you create for your congregation. So that's what your congregant opens up on their phone, or they open up. Look, speaking of technology, this is my phone case.
I like it.
Um, they open it up on their phone, or they open it up on their computer, and they interact with it. So Church Center is everybody can see it. Planning Center is where
Yep.
you set everything up. So I was at a church trying to help people, and one of the things that I realized, and I have realized this a long time, is that people are using. Right. I mean, they have a cell phone that they've had for 15 years. Right. And
Mm,
so, or they're using a computer that is just, I mean, I don't know. They're using a browser that is like MSN or something. So it's not optimizing it, and it's popping up all these things, and they don't know the difference between that thing
yeah.
that's popping them up. So this woman came up to me. Oh my God, it's gonna make me cry. And she was like, help me. And I was like, oh, I see what's going on. And it had to do something with like her phone needed an upgrade or whatever. And I was trying to like get the app for her and help her to do it. And she was just sitting there with me, and she was an older woman, and she was like, my son used to do this for me. And then she said, he
Mm,
he died in September. And so then we
wow.
started having this like pastoral conversation about her son. And I was like, this is also digital ministry, right? Like,
Yeah.
so she needed somebody to help her use her phone in general, but
Yeah.
also she wanted to talk about her son.
Mm,
And this was an entree, just like you said, just like making things online that have to do with worship. It gives you something to be talking to people about that then opens the door to talk about things that matter, right?
yeah.
And when people say to me, and everybody says this, well, we could do this, but so and so's not gonna, like this person's not gonna, this person isn't gonna. And I'm like, you know what? That's your invitation. First of all, to help that person, but also, if this person can't do it, then that's your invitation to like print the newsletter out and go visit that person and bring them the newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Like this is opening up a host of pastoral opportunities for you that may or may not have anything to do directly with technology. But I think so often churches decide, well, so and so's not going to do it, so none of us are not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Instead of saying like 80% of us can do this and want to do this, and then it's our job then to communicate and be in community in the ways that we can be with the people who can't or won't or aren't going to have anything to do with this. And I think that opens up some really, really
Oh,
good,
yeah.
pastoral doors.
I mean, this is why I've always resonated with what you do in these digital spaces. There are some people who do digital ministry, and I can get put into this corner as well. And it's just like, we're going to teach you about the technology. Here's what to use and how to. And there's a need for that. Like, I think I can lead a really good Zoom call. That's a good skill
Yeah.
that more people
Yeah.
need to have, especially if you're leading Zoom calls regularly. But I think it's easy to get caught up in the technical side of it. And there's a lot of technical stuff I don't know. Like churches are like,
Yeah.
which camera should I use for live streaming? I go, I have no clue. The
Yeah.
one that you know
Yeah.
how to use that you have access to. I mean, I
Right.
can tell you what you should do when
Yeah.
you are live streaming, but I think it's those skills, it's the pastoral approach in these
Yeah.
spaces that overlap with technology that I think is the most
Yeah.
essential. Because to me, that's
Yeah.
what
Estimates
humanizes
makes it
all of
ministry.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Have you heard that? It's a book. It's also a saying. The best camera is the one you have with you.
yes, I have quoted that
Right?
often. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, there's, and I'm not, and same. There's areas of technology that I want nothing to do with or know nothing
yeah.
about it. I've just started using Cloudflare. Cloudflare? Do you know Cloudflare?
It sounds
Cloudflare?
familiar.
Is like hosts it like it makes a digital gateway for you, which I'm very
Yeah.
interested in. So like it hosts your URLs, it hosts your domains, but also you can create because I'm using Substack and Planning Center and all these that you it can help you create like a gateway so that your user only has to go through one gateway to be
Hmm.
part of your digital experience, which is very fascinating to me. But man, oh man, I think I know stuff about tech. And I went to their website. I was just trying to move an URL, like a domain hosting, and I was like, what? It's got this interface. It's like then you do that and then in this code and that code, and I'm like, all right, I need
Yeah.
AI's help to like translate the front of this. So like I get humbled very easily with the technology every once in a
Well,
while. Like yeah,
that's an example. I mean, you know this from being a pioneer of the internet in the mid 90s, where still so much of the internet's infrastructure is from the 90s. Like it's built on so
yeah,
much of that foundation. I mean, with
yeah,
why do we have HTTP and URL and all the way we have those kinds of the language was created and we're still using it. It's evolved, obviously, and there's new ways of doing it, but
right,
like
right,
transferring a domain is frustrating because you're like working with what feels antiquated, even though it's just 30 years old of a system, but we're still playing with the
right.
tail end of
Right.
that.
Which
Yeah.
is why I think you should move your church's website to Substack. And I said that to you the other day, and you were like, that's fascinating because the internet is changing itself, right? It has
Yeah.
changed, right? It is not, it's like it's enough of an insult to injury that we're no longer in the 20th century church, but now we're not even in the internet of the 2000s or the 2010s,
Yeah.
right? And of course, AI is changing it every day. But the whole idea of having a static website that's just something you just like park out there that honestly nobody looks at, and it looks terrible most of the time, um, is just like no one is going to find you and no one is going to see it and no one's just going to stumble around upon your church. They just aren't. They would just they have to be an accident or they'd have to be typing in your URL one letter by one letter, right? And if they got it wrong, then they wouldn't find your website. But the reason I love Substack so much is it's multi-layered. It is social media, it is your website, it is your email list. It is, it's all of those things. It is your creative space. In fact,
Yeah.
they advertise themselves now as like your cultural hub, right? So
Yeah.
whatever you want to do and whatever you want to make it, you can do it on Substack now. And so I moved our small church's website. I have four. So I put all four of them on Substack because I find it's so dynamic, right? It's so easy to change and to interact. People can like and comment on everything that you do. You can send emails out. You can use the notes like a social
Hmm.
media. And people get to know you. That's the idea. Like, this
Yeah.
is who we are. This is what we do. This is how we want to engage you. And so, it's your digital doorway, as I like to say, of your church. People are not coming into your church. They are not coming into your church, no matter what anybody says. Not enough people, and this is a way to open the door of your church and have people interact with you in new ways
Yeah.
and understand who you are, what you believe, why you're here, and how you're sharing the gospel.
How do you do events? Like, I think one big thing constantly is like church websites list upcoming events and things of that nature.
Yes,
And that's
yes,
one
yes.
semi-active space that still just exists by
Yeah.
default because calendar dates change. I'm with you on so much what you said. Yeah, who's going to the church website is a big question that everyone thinks everyone is, and the answer is barely anyone is. And
No
converts like, if my
one.
thing's on the church website, everyone's going to come to my event. No,
Right.
that's not true.
No.
You'll just feel good that
No.
your thing made it on the front of the church website, and then two people still show up.
Right.
But I
Right.
my big
That's where
holdup would be
planning
if all church
center.
moved
Yeah.
over. How do you? Oh, planning center becomes your events.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Hang on. I'm gonna.
okay.
Can I share my screen with you for 1 second?
I think so. Make sure that's open up for people. Host tools. Where do I go with this?
Oop, where did I
Share
go?
option.
Oh, there we are. I was like, you're gone. Um, all right. So share. Send request. I'm requesting that you should allow
I
me
will
to.
allow.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's try again. Okay, here we go. Oh, sorry. I'm using Comet. This is how techie I am. I'm using Comet as my browser and Zoom doesn't like it. I'm gonna open up Chrome. Hang on. Here we go.
Oh,
Let me try it
Zoom.
again. Oh, Zoom. Unknown. Screens? It's not letting me. It says layouts, advanced. Why? It's not giving me the option. It says screen. It says Zoom, docs, advanced. It's not actually showing me anything. Anyway, it doesn't matter. For whatever reason, maybe I didn't allow it. Did I not allow myself to share my
You
allow
have
Zoom?
you have
Oh yeah,
permission on my
opus.
end from Zoom.
Here we go. Of course, yeah, it's like, oh, you know what? I don't use Zoom anymore, so I think I probably like when I oh gosh, forget it. Never mind. It wants me to shut Zoom and start again. Never mind. I'll just explain it to you. Yeah. So I basically in Substack, I have a headline link, like you can put links at the top. So one of them is church member portal. So when you click that, it opens up to the church center page that
Yeah.
has all the things that are going on at the church. And church this week, we have a prayer request, and part of that is upcoming events. And that's another great thing about Planning Center is that
Yeah.
you update like group events and then things on your calendar. And again, one of the things that I think that churches really struggle with is everybody's like, put my thing up front, right? And what you end up with is a mess of information that just like washes over everybody, and so nobody sees anything. And so, what both Substack and particularly Planning Center allow you to do is focus what you're offering to the people who have already said
Mm.
they were interested, right? So people in your groups get stuff from your group events. You can put group events on the main church calendar, but then you'd be really selective about those things
Yep.
that you really want moments where you want to say to people, "Come join this group, and this is what you're going to get," right? And then the event is sign up for this group. And then when you sign up for the group, then you get the granular stuff. And I always use the choir for that. You don't have to put choir rehearsal on your church's calendar. Really, the
Yeah.
only people who care about choir rehearsal are people who are in the choir. If you want to get people in the choir, put an event on to tell people about the choir and how they could get in
Yeah.
and how wonderful the choir is, and then put a link to the group, right? So it helps you sort of sort this out. So you're only having like the main message on your main page of your Substack or of your Planning Center calendar, and then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's the idea. You want people to
Yeah.
engage in what they're interested in engaging with. And then if they don't care about the choir, then they don't ever have to see anything about the choir, right? And that's totally okay. But instead, it becomes this anxiety about if I don't have everything, if everything's not a headline, then no one's going to
Yep.
see it. But if everything's a headline, no one sees it.
We're not seeing anything. There's just so much noise. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
yes. I mean, I already have Planning Center open on my screen here. I'm gonna create an account once we're done with this call. I am gonna I
Yay!
I mean, what I love talking earlier about, community of practice kind of approach. Can you do something that's for a subset rather than the whole? And can that,
Yeah.
snowball into more and more, that's what I want to play in. Like for me, it's going to be cool.
Right.
Like I use Substack for my weekly, online congregation email. I did it for two reasons. Number one is because I was dropping a whole lot of people into a new email list, and I didn't want them to hit unsubscribe and then be unsubscribed from the church's official email list, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, let me do a new platform so
Yep.
that I,
Yep.
I I guard against that sort of a unsubscribe rate. And I wanted to try a new platform. I wanted to play with a new
Yeah.
digital thing for digital things. And I
Yes.
think that's been great. And
Yeah.
I'll be an evangelist for Substack for a moment. What I love is that to me, it's the combination of email meets old school WordPress blog, where
Yeah. Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
just show up in someone's inbox. So if someone's like, I don't know how to navigate to a website, but I do know how to open my email, great. you're going to see it every week. And someone who's like,
Right.
I do want to leave comments and have that sort of community interaction. Great. It's the same exact stuff and it's all built in. So I love it
Right.
for that reason. But it's let me play specifically with my online folks. And I think Planning Center can be the same. I can basically use
Yeah.
it, especially since there's a free starting point that gives me a whole lot of
Yeah.
features. I can be like, I'm going
Yeah.
to use this to just track and cultivate and plan for online stuff. And maybe it'll only ever be a Riverside Online church space, but maybe
Exactly.
it'll become a bigger thing. It could be the whole church space. And to me, that's the benefit. It's like it doesn't have to be we all use this or it's not worthwhile. It can just be for like this particular focus and purpose, that I'm
Yeah.
involved in, and that's a win for me and a win for the whole organization and a win for everyone involved. So, whew,
And that gets back to what I was trying to say about agile network technology based
yes,
Christian practice, small communities, because your small communities don't have to be the whole church, right? Like that's moving
yes,
away from institutional church. So now you have like your online community, your Bible study community, your Substack community. Now you do want ways to keep track of all of this, your in-person community, but they can and are distinct communities, and that's
yeah,
okay. And they are networked to each other, right? But also blow your mind, they're networked outside of there too, right? Because those
yeah,
people who are looking at Riverside online, they might be also doing an online Bible study. They might also be going to another church. They might also like, and that's the beautiful thing.
yep,
That means we don't have to organize a humongous institution or a small group of people that still has the organization of a humongous institution around them. We can just concern ourselves with
yeah,
this group of people, right? And that's how you create community and small worshiping communities, right? And maybe like choir is another really good example. I know lots of people who like their only interaction with the church is I'm a member of the choir. Does that mean they're not engaging with their relationship with God? Nope. Does it mean that they don't have community? Nope. And often the choir community is incredibly close, but they are a small network community that is
yep,
within the midst of something that's larger. And I think a
yeah,
lot of times institutional thinking looks at that as a threat, right? We don't want that to happen,
yeah.
right? We want to get the choir more involved or whatever. Why? Why not like
They're already
encourage that?
involved. They're doing
Yeah,
the thing. Yeah.
they're doing the thing. And if they don't want to do anything else, then that's fine, right? Like, and so
Wow.
that,
Yeah.
and so to think about it that way. And again, you can use technology that way too, including things like databases and Substack and all the rest of that stuff. It doesn't have to be the whole thing.
Yes.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
there you go.
I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we haven't even talked about running yet. I know we probably have to go. What time is it? It's the time of
Oh,
day. Okay, quick. Let's talk about running before we have to go. Go.
yes. Did you run today? What's your running life these days? I
I
know you were
yes,
just
I'm.
sick.
Yeah, God, I had like a bad stomach thing over the weekend, but I have a. I'm doing the Coast Guard half marathon in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, in April. I
Okay.
am. I'm turning 60 in October, so I'm trying to get to be a fast old lady. I've got a new age group coming up, and I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah.
So I'm training for a half marathon. Today was strength workout day. I did hills yesterday. Tomorrow's
Oh.
tempo. Thursday is, as my husband says, just run. Just go out and run 46 miles and don't think about it. And then long runs on Saturday. Sunday, church,
Yep.
usually church. So that's how I do it. I'm doing about 25 miles a week right now. And I was like, I've run a couple of marathons. New York was my first marathon. But and I can do it, but I really love half marathons and I really love 5Ks. And that's pretty much the only races I do. Although my 60th birthday is October 17th, and that is when the half Ironman is in North Carolina. So I'm doing the half Ironman on October 17th on my 60th birthday
Whoa.
as a relay. As a relay, I
Okay.
don't
Okay.
bike, so I have two friends that are going to bike and swim with me. So I'm going to just do the half marathon portion. Anyway,
Oh,
that's me. Yes,
that's
you.
amazing. Um,
Yeah,
Running, I
you run
ran this
marathons.
morning. Was supposed to run
Yeah,
7, ran 5.5, 5.6, just because it was really cold and I wanted to
yeah,
get back and take a shower and be ready to
yeah,
talk with you. And I don't know.
yeah.
I yeah, I love running. I'm one of those weird people who actually enjoys it most of the
I
time.
love it.
Um,
Oh, I love it.
yeah, I typically run marathons just because I like the craziness of it. I'm trying to run every marathon in Michigan. I've run 8 of them
Wow.
plus Chicago, and then I'm running
Oh,
training right
Chicago's
now
fun.
for the Armed Service Marathon in Grand Haven in May, which is
Wow.
just another
Yeah,
marathon to run. And then I'm
yeah.
pacing the Grand Rapids Marathon in October, and maybe I'll hopefully get into the New York Marathon if the lottery gods smile in my favor. So we'll see. Um,
It was the greatest experience of my life during the New York City
I
Marathon.
want to so
Ah,
bad. I apply every year, but haven't made it yet. One of these years I'll just do it on this charity if I
it
need
was
to. Yeah.
Superstorm Sandy of 2012 that like screwed up like because everybody they had to
Yeah.
cancel it, and so it's a long story. But anyway, it made it easier to get in the lottery, so I got in 2013, and then I had to defer, so I ran it in
Oh.
2014. But when in May is that half marathon in Grand Haven?
I think it's the weekend after Mother's Day. I should know. I can probably pull up my race training and find out. My wife's running a trail half marathon in on Mother's Day
Wow,
weekend, and then I'm doing mine either the week before or after. May 17th is the Armed
hang
Forces
on,
Marathon.
hang
When, yeah,
on.
when are you in South Haven? This could be
That
very
yes, I'm in
serendipitous.
South Haven, May 17th.
Well, me might need to cross paths. We'll be camping the whole
Yeah,
weekend up in that area. So yeah, we still have
yeah,
an
because
Airstream. We still do that.
my oh my God, my brother lives in Grand Rapids, and so we're going to be in South Haven. My husband has two triathlon related events that weekend, and so maybe we'll find because we'll be that's a lot closer than 4 hours. I'm looking at my map.
That is, we're suddenly, like within like 45, 60 minutes ish or so. So, I mean, South Haven and Grand Haven are still
They're both
different sides
havens.
of, yeah, they're both Haven. Yes, they're both great.
I
Yeah.
you might guess that I know nothing about Michigan. But all right, let's think about that. I mean, I know you'll be busy, I'll be busy, but that would be so cool. If we were like
Hey,
that
we'll
close,
be closer than
I would
this.
want
That's kind of crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
that is awesome. Well, that is awesome.
I typically don't like 5Ks, but I just don't run them often. But I did
Yeah.
run one on Saturday. Do I have it? I have a medal from
Yes.
it. Um,
Yay! What's it called?
Yay! It was
Oh, it's got a coffee cup.
the hot fudge 5K. Me and two friends ran
Oh,
it together. So do you follow the running channel on YouTube, their
I don't.
world?
I'm not big on YouTube, but
All
no, I
right.
don't really know it.
They also have
Yeah.
a podcast, which is the video
Okay.
version on YouTube, and then the podcast just called The Running Channel. You should. They're out of the
The
UK.
running channel.
It's
Okay.
they're gonna change your life. You're an evangelist for
Okay.
Planning Center. I'm an evangelist for the Running Channel. Um,
Okay.
they're great. It's a running I don't know, business in the UK
I'm
that
looking it
is
up now.
designed to help runners. They're a
Oh,
former
that's awesome.
UK Olympian, Andy Badley, started it in 2019 or something.
Oh,
And
wow.
but it's phenomenal resources, really well produced content. The podcast is one of my favorites. New episode every week. They have a whole online running community as well, the Running Channel Club,
Wonderful.
which is great. So we talk about,
Wonderful.
digital spaces and community. They're in that space as well. But
Yeah.
they did a thing where it was pledge a 5K PB in February. So they encouraged everyone to pick what your 5K PB would be and then try to run it by the end of February. And if you do it, you're eligible for all these great prizes and stuff. So that was me and my friend's motivation. Like one of my friends, he's quite a bit faster than me. The other one is just getting into running, and we all like to go running together. We call ourselves the Blue Dot Run Club because we live in a very
Oh,
small conservative town, and we are all not that. So
I get it. The blue
we're the
dot.
Blue Dot Run Club. So we all did this 5K together, and we all pledged our 5K times, and so that was the motivation to run a 5K.
Oh,
But
I
normally
love
they're not in my
that.
rotation. But it was fun. 5Ks are
Yeah,
hard though, because it's just like
they're hard.
20
It's
minutes
sprinting.
of
Yeah,
torture.
it is. I love it. I love 5Ks. Yeah, I don't know. Those two distances are just like my favorites. But yeah, and I like to mow down the old ladies. Like that's my whole thing. Like I like my my
It
husband
is
before.
fun.
Yeah,
Hitting a
my
new
husband.
age group is fun because then you get to suddenly
Yeah,
take over and be when you're the young
yeah.
one in your age group. It's like, watch out, old people. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, whenever I start a race, my husband takes me and he says, with this hand, drop your anxiety. With this hand, drop the old ladies. I'm telling you, old ladies are fast these days. So it's hard. It's a lot of competition with the old ladies, but I'm working on it. But yeah, I have a we have a great running group here. And we call ourselves the Cornelius Crawlers. Cornelius is a little town that I actually live in. And, and I only live about half a mile from where we meet up, right? So I can just run up there to meet them. And we have a Saturday run club and we have an online space, which is, I always use my run club as an example of the fact that we have this great community where we're always encouraging each other and teasing each other and planning our races and our meetups we have a group me group that we just chat in. And then on Saturdays we meet up and not
Yeah.
everybody meets, like maybe five, maybe 10 of us. And it's a random group and some people bring friends and it's all open. And to me, that's what church should be, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then, but we also like, we go to funerals together, weddings together, we have
Mm.
parties, we have, like we're so close. We do races together. Um, And over time, like I've been part of this group for over 10 years now, and it's the most amazing community. And I love to run
Yeah.
by myself, but I just love these people so much. And running all those miles with somebody else, you really get to know them.
You do. Just your spendings. Oh, I mean, there's been, I think, psychological studies about that. Just like running with
Yeah.
somebody, you are
Yeah.
like if you're sitting across a table with somebody looking at them, there comes a like, how long can we do that before, I'm staring at your
Yeah.
face for so long? Running is this like, I'm just next to you. Most of the time, I'm not
Right.
looking at you, but I'm with you and I'm
Right.
talking with you. And that's just a
Yeah.
whole different way of being that you typically
Yeah.
don't have in society.
Yeah.
And depending on how long your long run is, you might be with someone for hours, just not
Hours. Yeah. And
talking,
sometimes you're not
present in
talking.
this
Yeah.
experience. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think there's so much
And
about it that's really powerful.
yeah. Plus your like physical vulnerability, right? We all like nobody has any shame anymore if you run with someone for long enough. Like we all share either unintentionally or intentionally share our bodily functions and
Yeah.
all the things and constantly talking about whatever muscle is not working and then all our bodily fluids and what they have to do and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You really get some intimacy when you run with people a lot.
You sure do. So
Yeah.
basically, what we're
Anyway.
learning from this is every pastor needs to be on planning center and every
Yes.
person should join a run club. Those are two essential
Amen.
elements for just improving your
Yes.
life.
Yes. And online ministry. Yes. In
Yeah,
general. That's awesome. This is so awesome. I'm so glad we have done this. And I hope this is not the
me
last time we
too.
get to talk.
It won't be more to come. I
Okay,
mean,
good.
yeah, to
Yeah.
be honest, this whole digital ministry friends experiment was it
Yeah.
very clearly this was my excuse to just hang out with people I want to hang out with, and by turning it
Yes.
into a project, I'll do it, and then it's fun to get to share it. But I mean, I'll be honest, I forgot we were recording at least 5 times in this call, and it's just like we're
I
just chatting. So that's the point.
know. I
So
know. Now, what are you going to share this online? Like, how is this going to happen? Like, are you going
yes,
to share
this will
parts of it?
the whole thing will drop, and maybe I'll
Yeah.
make clips out of it, see what the machines can do with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll so I have a YouTube channel I've had for years on digital ministry. It's like youtube.com/digital minister. I know YouTube's not your thing, but I'll be an evangelist for
I'll
that
look
for
it
you
up.
at some point.
Yeah.
So that's been a space where I've put resources and stuff. So I think this might be a new kind of hopefully very regular series. Because in my mind, it's fun for me. Like obviously
Yeah.
I'm taking away actual things I'm going to use in my life. It's fun for me to just to get to know you a whole lot more
Yeah.
than just the ways I have in the
Yeah.
past. And then my other mind was like, I know a lot of people who do digital ministry. I have a lot of digital ministry friends. I would love to introduce
Yeah.
them to the world. So I want other people to
Yeah.
know you and what you bring to this and learn from you. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Yeah. That's
eavesdropping
awesome.
in that conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Thank you.
probably mid-March-ish because out next
Yeah.
week, but it'll be
You're
up
going to
on
go on
YouTube and
vacation.
probably on
That's totally.
Substack too. So it'll go places. But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll
Also,
be
by
all
the
over.
way, I do want to say I love the comments. Thank you for doing that. That's really an interesting experiment. I was so impressed that there were what, like 500 people there at the opening meeting or something.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It seems to have a huge amount of energy around it. How is that going for you?
Good, really well. So that's another hat I wear. Riverside is like my full-time life. Convergence is like a part-time consulting gig I do to help with online learning and innovation things. So the Commons is an extension of Convergence, which
Ah,
was birthed out of the UCC as a coaching, consulting, resourcing. Now it still works with the UCC, but it works broadly across, progressive faith communities of, Christianity and beyond. So the Commons is our exploration of like, what does it mean to build kind of these we didn't want to just have like a new social network. It was like, how do we actually meet a need that churches have around communities of practice kind of mentality? So it was big. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were like, our goal was maybe we'll have 100 people sign up and 50 people actually click the link and join the space. But then it was like, oh, more than 500 people have signed up,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
300
It's
are
amazing.
active in the space. It's like this is
Yeah.
not what we expected within 2 weeks. So now we're just kind of
Yeah.
trying new stuff and throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. And yeah, it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
I love Circle. I've got to say, I was a big Circle proponent. I had a community on Circle until, I mean, my biggest things about it were the money. I mean, it's expensive, right? And
Yeah,
so I
$1,000
couldn't
a year
afford
for the
it.
basic. Yeah,
Yeah. And also, I mean, basically, I was wooed away by Substack, and and I see why. Like, I can see that they just have a different mindset, a different way to look at things. Like, it's like you build something that you're trying to bring people into.
yeah,
Whereas Substack, I think, allows you to connect in so many different ways. It is networked, and I love that. And so you're bringing people in, and people can interact with you in a lot of different ways. Circle, I think, yeah, creates something that feels exclusive in that sense of like it goes on here, and there's no way to share it outside of
yeah,
here
yeah.
easily. And so again, I get that, and I think there's really good reasons to have those kind of communities. And also, I still think Circle's a little complex. Like it takes a little bit more, like it's not as native to like a lot of people to figure out where things
Yep.
are and how to navigate them. But nonetheless, I think it's a wonderful thing. And they were right in there. When did they start? Like 10 years ago, something like
Yeah.
that. So I give them all the props for like trying to figure out how to, to create those kind of community spaces. And some of those communities have turned into these amazing things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you there. It's always, to me, it's always looking at like Circle and Substack are two that I'm very clearly playing with in lots of spaces right now. I've played with Mighty
Yeah.
Networks, those used to be called, all those things.
Yeah. I
Like
never got
what
into Mighty Networks for whatever reason. I don't know
it's
why. Mighty
basically the same as
Networks.
Circle with a slightly
Yeah.
different UI and a few different set of
Yeah.
features. But I mean, for
Yeah.
me, it's always like goes back to like what are we wanting the experience to be? Like
Right.
Substack mediates a certain type of experience. Circle mediates another type of experience. It's not that
Right.
one is better than the other. They're just different experiences.
Right.
And which
There's
one serves
different.
the purpose of what we're trying to cultivate or facilitate? And how can the two
Right.
work together? Yeah. And I never want to
Yeah.
try to do too many
Yeah.
things at once. I think the mistake would be to be like, I'm going to have a thriving Substack and a thriving Circle and a thriving TikTok and a thriving
Right. That's
YouTube. It's
why I'm
like,
not on TikTok anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just keep it there so nobody steals my name. But here's like homework for both of us. But this is one of those things that now with AI, and this is why I'm getting into Cloudflare, even though it's like way above my abilities right now, is that what with AI now, and this is the thing that I'm super excited about, is you can create your own, right? Like that's
Mm,
the idea, is that like Cloudflare is how you take all your stuff and you build your own
mm,
experience that you want people to have curated to you, right? And if you can, like that's one of the reasons why I like Planning Center and Substack. Like, and I use Google Workspace, so that like your tech stack, right? You have your own ways that you are producing things and ways that you want people to interact with them. And now in this crazy world, you can create that for yourself. Right.
yeah.
And so you can have your people, like one of the things that I'm sort of playing with in Cloudflare is having people have just one login, right? So
Mm,
they come into my space online and they only have to have worry about a password or a code or something once, and then they can have all the experiences. And even if
yeah.
they're actually using different platforms, they don't have to know
Hmm.
that. Right. And to like make it as seamless as possible for the person who's using
Yeah.
it. And then they can use it in multiple different ways. And I can use it in multiple different ways. I think that's the near future.
It has to be. I mean, we're opening up a whole hour's conversation here, but I love it because it's the sense of it's not just you're not just focused on making the thing, it's how do you make it accessible to the person. It's constantly thinking about
Right.
the human being on the other side of a technology who's trying to access whatever the thing you're offering. How do you make it so there's not too many, like there's one door to walk in and suddenly you can have whatever you're looking for rather than like, the
Right.
minute it's like, oh, I need to log in again and again, I'm done. You've lost
Right.
me
I'm
at
done.
forgot password. So yeah, how do you
Exactly.
avoid that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll talk about that in our next conversation.
Next time, whether it's in May, we'll more to come, whether we're
Yeah.
recording it or just catching up. Kathy, this was great. Thank you
I
for
know.
just
It's
hanging
wonderful.
out for
Thank you
over an
so
hour.
much. Thanks for the invitation. It's wonderful to talk to you. Enjoy your
You
day.
too. You too, Kathy. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.